Finding your perfect hobby. Hi, I'm Teacher Luke, and welcome to this story on finding your perfect hobby. Chapter 1. Exploring the options. Have you ever asked yourself, what do I really enjoy doing in my free time? Or maybe, how can I find a hobby that feels right for me? Take a moment to think about these questions. If you like, write your answers in the comments before we continue. When people decide to look for a new hobby, they often imagine that the choice should be obvious. Some believe there is a single, perfect activity waiting for them, like a hidden treasure. But the truth is, hobbies are not fixed or permanent. They can change as we change. The best way to find a hobby is not to search for one magical answer, but to explore the options. Think of this stage like walking into a large marketplace. Around you, there are hundreds of colorful stalls. Each stall offers something different: books, tools, paints, instruments, balls, or even tickets to travel. You do not need to buy something immediately. You can walk around, look, smell, taste, and listen. The first step is simply to notice what exists. To make your exploration easier, let's imagine hobbies in broad categories. These categories are not strict, and many hobbies overlap, but they help us organize our thoughts. Creative hobbies. These are activities where you make something new. You might draw, paint, write stories, compose music, or design clothes. The main joy comes from expressing yourself and creating something that did not exist before. Creative hobbies can feel intimidating because people worry they are not talented. But remember, talent is not a requirement. Expression is for everyone. If you write a short poem, paint a simple picture, or play a few guitar chords, you are already creating. The satisfaction comes from the process, not from perfection. Active hobbies. These involve movement and physical energy. Sports like football, swimming, running, or dancing all belong here. But active hobbies are not only competitive. Yoga, hiking, or even gardening can be considered active because they use your body. The benefit of active hobbies is clear. They keep you healthy and strong. They also reduce stress and can give you new social connections if you join a team or group. Collecting hobbies. Some people enjoy finding, organizing, and protecting objects. They collect stamps, coins, cards, books, or even digital items like online art. Collecting gives a sense of order and achievement. It allows you to learn small details about history, culture, and design. Collecting can also become a way of connecting with others. For example, stamp collectors often meet in clubs to exchange and discuss their treasures. Learning hobbies. In this group, the activity is about exploring knowledge. Some people study languages, history, or science for fun. Others enjoy learning how to cook new recipes or how to repair machines. The focus is curiosity and discovery. A learning hobby does not have to feel like school. You are free to choose your pace, your topics, and your style. This freedom makes learning hobbies very satisfying for independent thinkers. Social hobbies. These hobbies are based on spending time with others. For example, board games, theatre groups, choirs, or volunteer activities. The enjoyment comes not only from the activity itself, but also from the relationships that grow around it. Social hobbies can be especially helpful for people who feel lonely or want to practice communication skills. They create natural opportunities for friendship. Finally, we have outdoor hobbies that take you into nature. Fishing, camping, bird watching, or cycling on country roads. Outdoor hobbies often combine physical activity, relaxation, and beauty. They remind us of the wider world beyond the city and our everyday worries. Now that we have some categories, how do you actually explore them? The answer is experiment. Try small things without too much pressure. Imagine that hobbies are like clothes in a store. You cannot know if a jacket fits until you try it on. Here are some practical ways to experiment. Taster sessions. Many clubs or schools offer free or low-cost first lessons. You can try one evening of salsa dancing or one afternoon of pottery without committing to a full course. Borrow, don't buy. If you are curious about photography, borrow a friend's camera before investing in your own. If you want to try painting, start with cheap paper and a few colors. Observe others. Attend a concert, watch a sports game, or visit a craft fair. Sometimes, observing is enough to feel if you want to participate. Mix your interests. Combine two categories. For example, if you like history and being outdoors, try visiting historical sites as a hobby. If you enjoy technology and social contact, try online multiplayer games. The goal is not immediate success, the goal is to taste. Every experiment teaches you something about your likes and dislikes. Let's hear some short stories from people who explored their options. Maria, 27, from Spain. Maria thought she was not a sporty person. In school, she avoided gym class. As an adult, she wanted to be healthier, but running and gyms felt boring. One day, a friend invited her to try a dance class. At first, she felt nervous and clumsy, but the music made her smile. After a few weeks, she noticed her body growing stronger and her mind more relaxed. Now, dance is her favorite hobby, and she even performs on stage with her group. Jonas, 35, from Germany. Jonas worked in IT and spent most of his day on the computer. He wanted something completely different, something physical but not competitive. He tried football, but it did not suit him. Then, one summer, he helped his uncle in the garden. Digging, planting, and watering gave him a peaceful feeling. Jonas realized that gardening could be his hobby. Today, he grows vegetables, and his children love helping him harvest. Nadia, 20, from Egypt. Nadia enjoyed reading but wanted a hobby that connected her with other people. She joined a local book club. At first, she worried her English was not strong enough, but the group welcomed her. Discussing stories with others improved her language skills and gave her confidence. What started as a simple reading habit grew into a social activity full of friendship. These stories show one important truth. Hobbies do not always appear where you expect them. Sometimes they surprise you. Exploring options is not only about trying activities. It is also about listening carefully to your own reactions. After each experiment, ask yourself, did this activity make me feel excited or bored? Did I lose track of time while doing it? Did I feel proud, relaxed, or curious? Do I want to do it again? Your answers guide you like a compass. They point toward activities that may become real hobbies. When people search for hobbies, they sometimes fall into traps. Let's look at a few and how to avoid them. Expecting perfection immediately. Many beginners quit because they are not good enough. Remember, a hobby is not about professional results. It is about joy and growth. Comparing with others. It is easy to feel discouraged if a friend is faster, stronger, or more talented. But their journey is not your journey. Focus on your own progress. Spending too much money too soon. Buying expensive equipment before you know your real interest can lead to waste. Start small. Trying too many things at once. Exploration is good, but if you join 5 clubs in 1 month, you may feel stressed. Choose 1 or 2 experiments at a time. Quitting too early. The first time you try something, it often feels uncomfortable. Give yourself at least a few sessions before deciding. By avoiding these mistakes, you give yourself a fair chance to discover what really fits. Exploring hobbies is not only about the final choice, it is also about the journey. Every new activity teaches you something about yourself. Even if you decide, this is not for me, you have still learned something valuable. You discovered a boundary, a preference, or a hidden interest. Think of a child who tastes food for the first time. Some flavors they love, some they reject, but every taste adds to their understanding of the world. In the same way, every hobby you try adds to the map of your identity. Before we close this chapter, let's pause. Imagine yourself in that marketplace of hobbies. Which stalls attract your eyes? Which ones make you curious even if you feel shy? Write down 2 or 3 activities you might like to try in the future. You do not need to commit today. Just write them down. These are your first steps toward exploration. Finding your perfect hobby does not happen in one day. It is a process of opening doors, looking inside, and sometimes closing them again. The important thing is to keep exploring with an open mind. So, here is my question for you. What is one hobby you are curious to try, even if you are not sure it will work for you? Write your answer in the comments. Your curiosity might inspire someone else to take their own first step. And remember, hobbies are not about being perfect. They are about being alive, learning, and enjoying the moments in between your responsibilities. Chapter 2. Experiment. Have you ever tried something new and thought, wow, I never expected to enjoy this so much? Or maybe you tried something and realized, this isn't for me at all? Take a moment to think of one time when you tested something new. Write your memory in the comments. It could inspire someone else. When searching for the right hobby, there is one important word: experiment. Many people imagine that they must immediately find the one perfect activity, as if there is only one right answer. But hobbies are not like marriage or careers. You don't need to commit forever. You can try, change, stop, and start again. Think of experiments in science. A scientist doesn't always know the outcome before the test. They mix 2 elements, observe the reaction, and then record what happens. In the same way, you can experiment with hobbies. Each new activity is like a small test, giving you results about your interests, energy, and joy. The key to experimenting is to begin small. Imagine you are curious about painting. Instead of buying expensive brushes and dozens of colors, you can start with a few pencils and paper. If you want to try yoga, don't sign up for a year-long membership. Look for a free online video or join a short class. Starting small gives you 2 advantages. First, it reduces pressure. If you spend little money and time, you won't feel guilty if the activity is not for you. Second, it makes it easier to try several different hobbies. Instead of investing everything into one option, you can taste a variety before deciding which one feels right. Let me tell you about David. He was 29, worked in finance, and felt tired after long days at the office. He wanted a hobby that would bring energy into his life, but he had no idea where to begin. His first experiment was cooking. He watched a few online tutorials and tried to follow simple recipes. At first, his pasta was sticky and his soup tasted bland. But he noticed something interesting. Even when the food wasn't perfect, he enjoyed the process. After 2 months, cooking became part of his weekly routine. Later, David tested photography. He borrowed his sister's camera and walked around the city, taking pictures of buildings and shadows. He discovered that he loved being outside, but the camera felt heavy and complicated. After a few weeks, he decided photography was not his hobby, and that was okay. Finally, David tried climbing at a local indoor gym. The first time, his arms shook and he fell off the wall quickly. But he laughed, and the challenge made him curious. He returned the next week and met people who encouraged him. Climbing became a passion that balanced his life. David's story shows us something important. Experiments don't always succeed, but each one teaches you something. Cooking taught him patience, photography showed him what he didn't enjoy, and climbing gave him a hobby he loved. If you want to experiment with hobbies, Here is a simple method. Choose one activity that makes you curious. It doesn't need to be logical. Even if you don't know why, if something catches your interest, write it down. Find the easiest possible version. Look for free tutorials, beginner workshops, or borrowed equipment. Set a short test period. Decide to try it 2 or 3 times, no matter what. This way, you don't quit after the first awkward attempt. Reflect on your feelings. After each session, ask yourself, did I feel excited? Did I lose track of time? Did I feel proud or frustrated? Decide the next step. If you enjoyed it, continue a little longer. If not, thank yourself for trying and move on. By repeating this process, you slowly build a list of activities you like and activities you can cross out. Both lists are useful because they guide you toward the right direction. Many people avoid experiments because they are afraid of failing. They worry about looking foolish in front of others or being bad at something new. But here is the truth. Nobody is good at a hobby on the first day. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. Almost everyone falls at the beginning. But falling is not failure. It is part of the process. The same is true for hobbies. Your first cake may collapse, your first drawing may look strange, or your first football match may end with you out of breath. But each attempt is practice, and practice is progress. When you experiment, allow yourself to be a beginner. Beginners are not supposed to be perfect, they are supposed to explore. Experiments are short, but hobbies are long. At some point, you must decide whether to commit to one activity. So, how do you know when to stop experimenting and start focusing? Here are some signs. You look forward to the activity before it begins. Time passes quickly when you are doing it. You feel better afterward, even if it was difficult. You are curious to learn more and improve your skills. If these signs appear, it might be time to commit. Commitment doesn't mean you must do the hobby forever, but it does mean giving it a fair chance. Perhaps 3 months, 6 months, or 1 season. This deeper experience will tell you more than short tests alone. Even when experimenting, people face challenges. Let's look at a few and how to overcome them. Lack of time. Start with short sessions. 10 minutes of guitar practice, 1 quick recipe, or a single walk around the block. Small steps still count. Fear of judgment. Remember that most people are focused on themselves, not on you. And if you join a beginner class, everyone is learning together. Money worries. Use free resources first. Libraries, online tutorials, community groups, or secondhand equipment can reduce costs. Low motivation. Invite a friend to experiment with you. Sharing the experience makes it more fun and less easy to quit. Obstacles are normal, but with small strategies, you can keep going. One of the best parts of experimenting is surprise. Sometimes you discover something you never imagined you would enjoy. For example, Marco from Italy thought he hated exercise. But when a colleague invited him to join a weekend hiking group, he agreed just to be polite. After walking in the mountains, breathing fresh air, and eating lunch with the group, he realized he loved the experience. Now he hikes every month and even plans his holidays around new trails. Surprise is a gift of experimentation. It reminds us that we do not fully know ourselves until we test new possibilities. Now it's your turn. Let's do a short reflection. Write down 3 hobbies you feel curious about, even if you think you won't be good at them. For each one, plan the smallest possible experiment. For example, try a 10-minute yoga video, borrow a friend's camera, or bake 1 cake using a simple recipe. Promise yourself to try at least one of these experiments in the next 2 weeks. Exploration becomes real only when you take action. Experimenting with hobbies is not about success or failure, it is about discovering yourself. Each test, whether you enjoy it or not, adds information to your journey. The more you experiment, the clearer your path becomes. So, here is my final question for you. What is one hobby you will experiment with this month? Write your answer in the comments. Who knows, you may inspire another listener to try the same thing. Remember, every great hobby begins as a small experiment. Take that first step and let the journey unfold. Chapter 3. Integrate and enjoy. Do you already have a hobby that makes you happy? Or are you still searching for one that feels like a natural part of your life? Think about it for a moment, and if you like, share your answer in the comments. In the last chapters, we talked about exploring different options and experimenting with new activities. But there is another step that many people forget: integration. Trying something once or twice is exciting, but the true joy of hobbies appears when they become part of your regular life. Integration means making your hobby fit naturally into your weekly rhythm. It's like planting a flower in your garden. At first, you bring the plant home and put it in the soil. But if you don't water it, if you don't give it light, it will not grow. A hobby works the same way. It needs time, space, and care in order to bring joy. How does an activity become a habit? At first, you may have to push yourself a little. You remind yourself, "Tonight I will go to my dance class," or "This weekend I will paint again." But after a while, your body and mind begin to expect it. You start to feel something is missing if you skip it. For example, imagine you begin jogging twice a week. The first few runs feel difficult. Your legs hurt, and you wonder why you even started. But after several weeks, something changes. Your body grows stronger, and your mind begins to connect jogging with freedom, fresh air, and relaxation. Now, when you miss a run, you feel restless. That's the moment when a hobby has truly integrated into your life. One challenge is finding time. Many people say, "I'm too busy." But the truth is, we are not too busy for hobbies. We are simply not used to giving them space. Here are some strategies. Schedule it. Treat your hobby like an appointment. Write it in your calendar as you would with work or school. Connect it to routine. Attach your hobby to something you already do. For example, practice guitar after dinner or write in your journal before bed. Start small. You don't need hours. 10 minutes of sketching, 15 minutes of yoga, or half an hour of cooking can still give you joy. Use waiting time. If you travel by bus, maybe you can knit, read, or listen to an audiobook during the ride. Remember, integration is not about how much time you give, but about how regularly you return to the activity. Let's listen to Elena's story. She worked as a nurse and often felt stressed after long shifts. One winter, her grandmother gave her knitting needles and some yarn. At first, Elena laughed. She thought knitting was for old people. But one evening, she tried it. Her fingers moved slowly, and her first scarf was full of mistakes. Still, she noticed something. While she was knitting, her mind became quiet. She forgot her stressful day. She began to knit for 10 minutes before bed each night. Over time, those 10 minutes became 30, then an hour on weekends. Now, knitting is not only her hobby, but also her way to relax. She even makes gifts for friends. By giving the activity a regular place in her life, she transformed it into a true habit that brings peace and happiness. When we think of hobbies, we often imagine the final product, the finished painting, the completed song, the perfect garden. But the secret to enjoyment is focusing on the process, not only the result. Think about cooking. Of course, you want your meal to taste good, but the smell of garlic in the pan, the sound of boiling water, the colors of fresh vegetables, these are pleasures too. If you only care about the result, you may feel frustrated when the food doesn't look like the picture in the recipe. But if you enjoy the process, then every step is rewarding. This is important for integration. If the process itself is enjoyable, you will naturally return to it again and again. Another way to integrate hobbies is to connect them with people around you. Sharing makes the experience stronger. For example, if your hobby is reading, you can join a book club. If you like photography, you can go on photo walks with friends. If you enjoy playing music, join a small group or band. Sharing hobbies not only motivates you to continue, but also brings social joy. Humans are social creatures, and when we integrate hobbies into our relationships, we often feel more connected and alive. Amir moved from Egypt to Canada for university. At first, he felt lonely and far from home. One day, he saw some students playing football in the park. He joined them, even though his English was not very strong. At first, it was just a game once a week, but soon the group began to meet regularly. They started a WhatsApp chat, planned matches, and even shared meals together. For Amir, football became more than exercise. It was a way to belong. By integrating football into his weekly routine, Amir built friendships and confidence. The hobby gave him both joy and community. Even when you integrate a hobby, there will be obstacles. You may feel tired, busy, or unmotivated. Some days you might think, I don't have the energy. Here are a few tips. Remember your why. Ask yourself why you started. Was it for relaxation, health, creativity, or connection? Reconnecting with your purpose gives strength. Be flexible. If you cannot do 1 hour, do 10 minutes. If you cannot go outside, practice indoors. Adapt instead of quitting. Forgive breaks. Sometimes life interrupts. That is normal. Don't feel guilty. Simply return to your hobby when you can. Celebrate small wins. Every time you continue your hobby, even for a short time, celebrate it. Progress is built on small steps. Sometimes, even after you integrate a hobby, your feelings may change. You may love it for a year and then feel bored. This is not failure, it is natural. As humans, we grow and change, and our interests can grow and change too. You can choose to pause, stop, or transform your hobby. For example, if you loved painting but no longer feel inspired, maybe you can try pottery or photography instead. The important thing is to stay open and flexible. Hobbies should bring joy, not obligation. Now let's pause and reflect. Think about one hobby you want to integrate more fully into your life. Ask yourself, when could I do it each week? How can I make it part of my routine? Who could I share it with? How will I remind myself to enjoy the process, not just the result? Write your answers down. If you feel comfortable, share them in the comments. Others may learn from your ideas. When you integrate a hobby and allow yourself to enjoy it, something wonderful happens. The hobby no longer feels like an extra task. It becomes a natural part of who you are. It gives rhythm to your week. It creates space for relaxation, energy, and joy. It becomes a personal sanctuary, a safe place where you can express yourself freely. This is the reward, not only the product of your hobby, but the way it enriches your life. So as we finish this chapter, I leave you with one final question. How will you integrate your hobby into your life so that it brings you joy week after week? Write your answer in the comments. Remember, your story might help another person who is still searching for their perfect hobby. Integrate and enjoy. That is how hobbies transform from simple activities into lifelong companions. That's all for this story. I hope you find your perfect hobby. Thanks for listening.